Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Surabhi Sharma. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Wednesday, the 13th of March. India slams Pakistan at UNHRC for supporting terrorism. US and Taliban talks in Doha end with agreement in draft. And Nepal bans de-facto Maoist group Nepal Communist Party. And now for all the details. India on Tuesday raised the issue of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and gross human rights violation by Pakistan during the 40th session of United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva. Indian diplomat Mini Devi Kumam hit out at Pakistan for providing safe haven to terror groups such as Jaish-e-Mohammed, which claimed a deadly attack on a paramilitary convoy in India's Jammu and Kashmir last month.
India on Tuesday raised the issue of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism and gross human rights violations by Pakistan while exercising its right of reply during the 40th session of UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. Indian diplomat Mini Devi Kumam contended that Pakistan's continued support to cross-border terrorism is the main challenge to protecting the human rights of citizens in Jammu and Kashmir, which is an integral part of India.
Pakistan's continued support to cross-border terrorism is the main challenge to protecting the human rights of our citizens in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. The confirmation of using UN-proscribed terror organizations, Jaish-e-Mohammed, as an instrument of state policy by Pakistani military and political leadership is already in public domain.
The Indian diplomat hit out at Pakistan for providing safe havens to terrorists such as Masood Azhar, the chief of Jaish-e-Mohammed terror group and founder of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Hafiz Saeed, who is also a UN-designated terrorist. The Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed or JEM terror group claimed responsibility for a suicide bomb attack which killed at least 40 Indian security personnel in India's Jammu and Kashmir province on February 14th.
Meanwhile, Kashmiri activists and intellectuals also strongly criticized Pakistan on Tuesday at the UNHRC session in Geneva and blamed that Islamabad has become a broker to China as it is negotiating the sale of Gilgit-Baltistan to Beijing. They highlighted that Pakistan's attempt to change the status of the illegally occupied Gilgit-Baltistan have increased exponentially as the region is vital for the construction of China-Pakistan economic corridor.
Kashmiri political activists and intellectuals on Tuesday strongly criticized Pakistan at the UNHRC session in Geneva and blamed Islamabad has become a broker to China as it is negotiating the sale of Gilgit-Baltistan to Beijing. The activists lambasted Pakistan for changing the demography of the territories under its illegal occupation through construction of the so-called developmental projects. They said that in collaboration with China, Pakistan's attempts to change the status of Gilgit-Baltistan have increased exponentially as the region is vital for the construction of the illegal China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC.
Firstly, Pakistan invaded Jammu and Kashmir in 1947. Since then, it has been an occupier, and now it's a broker as it is negotiating the sale of Gilgit-Baltistan to Beijing. In collaboration with China, Pakistan's attempts to change the status of Gilgit-Baltistan have multiplied, as the region is vital for the construction of the illegal China-Pakistan Economic Corridor.
Pakistan has violated international law as well as United Nations resolutions and created an unfair consolidation in its peripheries. She has constructed many dams in the disputed territory behind its mandate and deprived millions of Pakistan from basic needs.
Activists have long blamed that CPEC is illegal and that the indigenous people of Balochistan and Gilgit-Baltistan, from where it passes, have been stripped away of their natural resources. They claim the CPEC project has only brought death and destruction for the local people instead of economic opportunities and accuse those who have opposed it have been subject to torture and violent crackdowns.
In news from Afghanistan, the talks between US and Taliban in Doha ended on Tuesday with agreement in draft between the two sides on some key issues under debate. US Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad informed that he wrapped up the marathon round of talks And now the peace requires agreement on issues like counter-terrorism assurances, troop withdrawal, intra-Afghan dialogue, and a comprehensive ceasefire.
Fifth round of peace talks between the US and Taliban negotiators in Qatar ended after 16 days on Tuesday, with agreement in draft between the two sides on some key issues under debate. Hours after the news broke on Qatar talks, US Special Envoy Zalmay Khalilzad said in a tweet that he wrapped up a marathon round of talks with Taliban in Doha. Khalilzad said peace requires agreement on 4 issues: counter-terrorism assurances, troop withdrawal, intra-Afghan dialogue, and a comprehensive ceasefire. Meanwhile, Taliban said in a statement that the United States and Taliban had deep discussions on 2 issues agreed in January, local media reported. The group said no deal has been signed by the negotiating teams and that they will come together after consulting their leaderships about the current developments. This comes at a time when Afghan government early this week finalized a date for the Peace Jirga, a traditional assembly of Afghan delegates from all layers of the society to discuss peace. According to the High Peace Council, almost 2,000 delegates, 30% of them women, will attend the Jirga scheduled for April 29.
More news from Afghanistan. Militant attacks have continued in Afghanistan amid peace efforts in the country. Meanwhile, the Afghan Interior Ministry has said that the offensive operations by security forces have also increased against militants.
Militant attacks have dramatically increased in different parts of Afghanistan as the new fighting season arrives in the country, reports suggest. However, the Afghan Interior Ministry said the offensive operations by security forces have also increased against militants. This comes at a time when there has been an increase in peace efforts by the Afghan government as well as US negotiators.
در این اواخر نیروی امنیتی در مساعی مشترک با نیروی دفاعی و هوایی کشور علیه دشمنان مردم افغانستان حملات تهاجمی و تعارضی را به 100% افزایش داده.
The recent among the major attacks was Taliban's attack on an Afghan military base in Helmand province, which killed at least 25 security personnel. The incident was followed by other deadly attacks in Samangan and Badghis provinces during the last 2 weeks.
In news from Nepal, the Nepal government on Tuesday branded the Netra Bikram Chand-led Nepal Communist Party as a criminal group and banned its activities. The banned party has been blamed of extortion, vandalizing public and private properties, and for bomb explosions around the country.
The Nepal government has decided to ban the de-facto Maoist group, the Nepal Communist Party led by Netra Bikram Chand, on Tuesday, a minister from the cabinet informed. The cabinet made the decision as it thinks the activities of the group are more crime-oriented. Chand's banned party is blamed of extortion, vandalizing public and private properties, and bomb explosions around the country. The party was formed after the then Maoist party broke off into groups. Chand had deserted Pushpa Kamal Dahal's then Maoist party in 2012 along with Ram Bahadur Thapa, who is the incumbent Home Minister, saying that he wanted to take Nepal's revolution forward through unified revolution. But he left Thapa in 2014 and formed his own Communist Party of Nepal. 2 years later, in what he called a homecoming, Thapa joined Dahal back.
More news from Nepal. Indian Embassy in Nepal on Wednesday awarded Golden Jubilee scholarships to 200 meritorious students to provide financial assistance to them for continuing their studies in different fields, including medical and engineering. The scholarships were constituted in 2002 to mark the completion of 50 years of Indo-Nepal economic cooperation.
Indian Embassy in Nepal on Wednesday awarded scholarships to 200 meritorious students to mark the celebrations of Golden Jubilee Scholarship Day in Nepal's capital Kathmandu city. The Golden Jubilee scholarships are offered to undergraduate students to provide them financial assistance for continuing their studies in different fields including medical and engineering. The scholarships are part of India's efforts to support human resources development in Nepal for the overall socio-economic development of the country.
The scholarship incentivizes you. It gives you a feeling that you have achieved something. It gives you a feeling that you are on the way to get something done. It's not the 3,000, 4,000 rupees a month. It helps, that's useful. It's particularly useful for students who come from disadvantaged backgrounds.
The Golden Jubilee scholarships were constituted by the Indian government in 2002 to mark the completion of 50 years of Indo-Nepal economic cooperation. During its first period, only 50 students were awarded with the scholarships, but now the number has been increased to 200.
A Rangoli competition was organized on Tuesday in India's southern Andhra Pradesh province to create awareness among the voters about their responsibility towards casting their votes. India will hold a general election in 7 stages starting from April 11th in what will be the world's biggest democratic exercise.
With an objective of educating the voters about the responsibility to cast their votes, a district-level Rangoli competition was organized in Krishna district of India's coastal Andhra Pradesh province on Tuesday. Scores of students took part in the week-long voter awareness campaign in which Rangoli designing, poster making, drawing, slogan writing and short film making contests were organized by the district administration. The competitions were aimed at creating awareness among the voters about the use of electronic voting machines or EVMs.
Today, under sweep activities in Krishna district in IGMC stadium, district level Rangoli competition has been held. Last week in all the constituencies of Krishna district, constituency level Rangoli competitions, poster making competition, drawing making, slogan making, short film making and related competitions have been held.
The voter awareness campaigns have intensified in different parts of the country after the dates for the general election were announced by the India's electoral body. The elections in world's largest democracy would be held in 7 phases beginning April 11 and the results would be announced on May 23rd.
Asia Joshi, India's first transsexual to be crowned Miss World Diversity in 2018, interacted with members of the transgender community in India's southern Mangalore city and inspired them to take up different professions and make a name for themselves. Joshi also walked the ramp as a part of the Transgenders Day celebrations.
India's first transsexual crowned as Miss World Diversity in 2018, Asia Joshi on Tuesday interacted with members of the transgender community in India's southern Mangalore city and inspired them to take up different professions and make a name for themselves. Joshi was seen walking the ramp and posing with the members of the transgender community as part of the Transgenders Day celebrations organized by a local charitable trust in the city.
I think there should be more people who should be working towards, getting famous and getting recognized, and so that people know that transgender community cannot just only beg, clap or do prostitution. They can do far beyond that. The way I did, I made name for myself. I want more and more people to come forward, and they should also, think about different careers apart from, begging, clapping or prostitution.
Miss World Diversity is a beauty pageant where transsexuals are also allowed to participate along with women. Being a sexual minority, especially transgender or intersexual in India, is met with a lot of frowning. Families generally disown these children, who are then taken in by the transgender community and trained to beg and often forced into prostitution. Most sexual minorities are often caught in the web of human trafficking, smuggling and drugs abuse.
Well, that's the way it was in South Asia this evening. Before we conclude, the top stories once again. India slams Pakistan at UNHRC for supporting terrorism. US and Taliban talks in Doha end with agreement in draft. And Nepal bans de-facto Maoist group Nepal Communist Party. Now our viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/SAsia Newsline and follow us on Twitter @SAsia Newsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.